Welcome to this conference. It's called XCP-ng, Turnkey Open Source Virtualization Platform. It's a lot of keywords, but don't worry, we'll go in deeper after. First of all, I would like to thank all the people that are organizing the event for the given opportunity to talk in front of you today. And as I said, today we will talk about XCP-ng. XCP-ng is about to be 1 year old, a bit more than 1 year old today. And actually, I was here last year to present you the very early stage of XCP-ng. It was maybe 3 or 4 months old at the time. And during this 1 year, we have done a lot, we have achieved a lot, and we have still a lot to achieve. And this is what we will be talking today during this conference. But before getting deeper into the keyword that we have here, let me introduce myself. I'm Marc-André Pezin. And I'm the marketing manager at VATES, which is the company that is carrying the XCP-ng project and also the Xen Orchestra project. So XCP-ng is a virtualization platform, and Xen Orchestra is a web interface that will allow you to manage a XCP-ng platform, and as well as a XenServer platform. So, and this is as well an open source project. So, when you are talking about XCP-ng, the most important keyword a bit loud. The most important keyword here is virtualization. Virtualization, I won't go deep into the concept, but for those who will not be familiar with this, virtualization is the process by which you're fragmenting the resource of a physical host, of a server, bare metal server, and you're creating virtual machine with the resource available. I will just move it a bit. Maybe it's better. Okay. So this is the basis of virtualization. There are 2 types of hypervisor. XCP-ng is a type 1 hypervisor, which means that you need to deploy it on a bare metal server. You need to deploy it on a physical host, and you will use the rest of the host to create different virtual machines that each of them can run different operating system. So this is the concept of virtualization, but XCP-ng is a virtualization platform, and as a platform, it's not a single component, it's more a combination of different components, and it's the aggregation of them that will create a complete platform. Traditionally, when we're talking about virtualization, we're talking about the compute part, the network part, the storage part, and in the case of some hypervisor and some virtualization platform as XCP-ng, there is an API, and it will allow the user to make about everything, but it's not very friendly to use, obviously. So XCP-ng is a virtualization platform, but it's an open source virtualization platform. And I believe that all the people in a Linux event must or should share about the same vision of what is an open source project. But in our company and in our industry, we have learned pretty recently that all companies in the business don't have exactly the same vision about what is an open source project. An open source project for us and for the vision we share with XCP-ng is not only to follow the open source licenses. Of course, it's the basis. You have to be compliant with open source licenses. But and in the case of XCP-ng, as there is a lot of components, most of them are under the GPL-v2 licenses, but not only because there is a lot of components, some university and some other stuff. So I don't know exactly all the package, but everything in XCP-ng is open source and compliant with one of the licenses. But being an open source project is a bit more than that. It's also to have around your project a big and an active community around you. It's to create enough documentation, enough guidance for people to be able to actually use your product, to share the idea they have around the product, and to help you to assist and to contribute to the project. This is what really is an open source project. And a bit later, we'll see that in the lineage of XCP-ng, there were times where that was not exactly the same vision. So finally, XCP-ng is a turnkey virtualization platform, turnkey open source virtualization platform. And what we mean by turnkey is that your project, your solution needs to be easy to download and to install. It needs to be usable directly from the source, from the package that you're delivering to users. And Second point is that you have to be as large, as compatible as possible. People don't want to have to check if their hardware is compatible. They just want to download your solution, install it, and it should work. And that's what we are trying with XCP-ng. We're trying to always add new drivers inside the solution in order to be compatible with most of the server available on the market, at least the most recent servers. Finally, having an API gives the opportunity to user to cover most of the application they could have in their own infrastructure. But having an API is a great thing, but it's even better if you have a friendly web interface that will transpose the API and give people an easy way to use the solution. So this is the main purpose of Xen Orchestra, to be a user-friendly web interface to manage the XCP-ng. So here, you have the vision globally, almost all the vision of what is XCP-ng and what was the point. But XCP-ng, as I said, is the newest version of a long lineage of open source virtualization platform. Not always a platform, but at the very beginning of it, in 2003, in the University of Cambridge is born the Xen project, and Xen project is at the time, it's the first open source hypervisor on the market, but there is no API, it's something very core-based. It's something like a Linux distribution, just able to create VM. It was some time ago, and at the moment, the virtualization market was growing. So XenServer, that were competing with some other big companies in the virtualization market, was very interesting to Xen project, and they purchased it, and they create XenServer. XenServer was at the time a proprietary product. It was very closed source, and it was Xen plus an API, and this was XenServer. I make it a little bit down. Maybe it will be better. Okay, this time. So, in 2007, Citrix is acquiring Xen and is creating XenServer, a virtualization platform, which at the time was closed source. Next thing you know, in 2010, Citrix decided to reorient a bit their strategy, and were not really interesting anymore into the creation of the VM. They were more interesting in what was inside the VM. And so they were more focusing on Xen App and Xen Desktop, their main product. And to be the most important Xen virtual desktop application in the market, they made their product compatible with all their former concurrent competition. So XenServer was not anymore something really important in the Citrix things. So 1 year later, some people involved in the XenServer development decided that it was time to try a new thing, and they decided to create XCP. XCP for Xen Cloud Platform, and it's the very same XCP that you will find in our project, XCP-ng. Xen Cloud Platform, new generation. So they create an open source version of XenServer at the time, and it was not last long because it was not exactly what they were expecting. They indeed created something, but they failed to create a community around that. They failed to create contribution, to have external contributors, and basically they failed to create a real open source project. So they didn't have a long time to do so, because only a few years later, XenServer itself, the core product of Citrix, became open sourced. So there was no longer a need for XCP, and XCP just disappeared. But they made about the same mistake with XenServer. They create something. They say they agreed to comply with a GPL license, but they didn't create a real open source project. At the same time, in 2013, in VATES, which was absolutely not an open source project editors at the time, we were using Xen Orchestra, the very basic of Xen Orchestra, that was more an internal product used for internal things. But in the year to come, after 2013, it became quickly the main product, and the main source of revenue for our companies. So we became sort of Xen experts, and we continued to be until 2017, the end of 2017, when Citrix announced once again something new in XenServer, and that was not very good because actually they announced that they were removing some essential, some very important features from the free version. They were moving it to the higher tier, which required a paid license to be used. And not only they remove essential feature from the free version of XenServer, but also they introduced a limitation in the free version. You could not add more than 3 hosts in the same pool of hosts. That could be very painful if you have a normal infrastructure and not a very little one infrastructure. So that was not a real cool move in the open source vision of the things. So at the time, at VATES, we had a lot of discussion. We had a lot of discussion inside, but we also had a lot of discussion with Xen Orchestra users because they were our main concern. We decided, just 1 month later, we decided it was time to create something new, and we forked the XenServer project. This is how XCP-ng is born, and since that time, we have achieved a lot. We will see that together. We have achieved a lot, and we have done a lot, and we will still do a lot. Next thing, in April this year, we are gonna, I hope it will be this month because we are very, very close to do so, but we are gonna join a foundation in the open source world, a very well-known foundation. I can't tell it still because it's not official, but we are about to join a foundation, and this is one step further in our project, one step further for our project. So there was a lot of history behind XCP-ng, but at the moment we decided to create it, we had also a lot of questions because in 2018 and in 2019 as well, there are a lot of buzzing words around the serverless things. Do people really need a new virtualization platform in 2018 and in 2019 and for the year to come? So that was a question we asked ourselves and we asked our users. And we answered it. We answered yes, because otherwise we wouldn't have done XCP-ng, yes. So we answered it, but in a very gradual way. We answered it first because after discussing with our user, we discovered that people were very interesting. The XenServer product was really appreciated because it's a good product as itself. It's a bad open source product. It's just a good product as it. So in the discussion with our user, they show interest in some such project. So we decided to move one step, to move again, and we created a Kickstarter campaign, and we asked for 6,000 euros at the time. That was the amount needed to create a clean fork of XenServer, something working from the source. And in 12 hours, we got 12,000 euros, which was really, really cool. So there is a bit of difference between people saying they are interested into a new virtualization platform because they love the original product, and people investing money, people, individual as well as company, investing money into that project. That's more confirmation than the previous point, if you want. And since this campaign was very successful, as we had more than 700% of the initial target financed, since that time, XCP-ng has been downloaded a bit more than 25,000 times, which is for us an achievement because it's not such a big market, the virtualization platform. And we're pretty happy with that, and actually it may be a bit more today because we are not monitoring actively all the downloads, but that's something important. 25,000 people decided to download our solution, to try it at least at a moment, at a point in time, so this is something. And cherry on the cake, this year in 2019, we are, VATES as a company is laureate of the startup program at HPA. This program is sort of, HPA selects 15 to 20 companies that have something, a product that is worth to check. So this is sort of a confirmation of a big industrial that our project is worth something. So we are on the good way. That's at least what we are thinking. We had a lot of motivation to do so, to fork XenServer, because as I said, XenServer was a very good product, but it was not anymore on the same philosophical level that VATES. The future of XenServer is pretty much closed source. Not only they have removed some features from the free version, but also all the new features developed in XenServer are more and more behind closed door, and we can't do anything about that. So that makes no sense for an open source editor as VATES to continue to work exclusively on a product which is less and less open source. But it's not something we are okay with. So that was the main reason. We had really a disagreement with the way the XenServer project was going to evolve. But also, another problem in the XenServer project is probably the lack of open source spirit in XenServer management team. There were no community around XenServer, no developers, no contribution, and in fact, there were even some components in XenServer, open source components, that were not open to contribution. So that was a big problem, so because you couldn't accept all the code and it's open source code. And finally, even if you could theoretically use XenServer directly from the source, because as I said, it's open source, there was absolutely no documentation, no guidelines, and no process to do so. So basically, you had to understand each package by yourself and to compile it and to build it from the source by yourself and to make it work by using some magic. So this was the state of XenServer at the moment we decided to fork it, and that was also the main point because why we needed some investment of people to create something new, because we needed to take all the package in XenServer to understand what they were doing, keep only the one we had the right to keep because they were open source, and make it work in the end. That was not so trivial thing. Of course, when you are launching a project this size and with the ambition to do better than the original product, you will face challenges, a lot of them, and you will face 3 different types of challenges. The first one is the community challenges. First, to create an open source project, you need to gather people on the project, and these people need to be invested into it. That was the main point of the Kickstarter campaign. The Kickstarter campaign allowed us to create a momentum and to gather people, companies, individuals, all people interested into the project, and to gather them around it. That was the first point. Then, you will need to keep the community engaged into this product, and you will need to keep the community growing. Because if you don't, your project won't live for a long time. And we're always trying to provide all the tools needed for the people to keep engaged with the product, and also to provide the tools for the developers to contribute, because you need, it's a community project, not a company project, it's an open source project. So you need to encourage the external contributions, because this is not something developed behind closed door. This is something created by a community and decided by a community. That's what the main challenges of the community. On the technical part, as I said, XenServer was not very rich in documentation that you can use to create it. So first thing, you need to fork the project and to create something that is working. That was the first point of XCP-ng, to be something working. Obviously, we did that. And once it's done, you need to continue to improve the solution. You need to prove that you have the ability to create new things, to add new features, because you want, obviously, to be better. We don't want to be a clone. We don't want to be just XenServer free. We want to be a new virtualization platform based on XenServer with their own solutions. And you need also to solve bugs, whole bugs, coming from the original code, because when you're taking the XenServer product, you're taking all the good things, but you're taking all the flaws too. And you need to solve some stuff, and we will see a bit later, we have done this, and we have done this. And finally, you need to make people migrate easily from XenServer in the first place, because XenServer is the main target for XCP-ng. Obviously, XenServer user are the main user of XCP-ng at the time. But after that, you want all people that want to change their hypervisor to be able to move from any hypervisor to yours. So people on VMware, people on KVM, all people that want something else, you want to be able to make it easy for them to come to XCP-ng. So we are constantly working on that too. And finally, there is the project challenges. There is the governance question. because we are currently a company, the company which is carrying the project, but this is a community project, so people have questioned, why can't we do what Citrix have done with the XenServer project? Well, this is one of the reasons why we are joining a foundation. It's because we are compliant with the open source. We are okay to comply to any rules provided by a recognized institution as a foundation. This is one of the things. And you need also to think about the future of the project. What will make XCP-ng a living project in 5 years or in 10 years? And for this, we have also decided to propose for companies that are needing it, pro support option. So we are providing support coverage for companies with infrastructure that need it. So there is no license, no restriction of any sorts, but company that wants to can purchase a pro support option, and that will be a way to keep the project alive in the next years. So today, XCP-ng for us is already a community and a project success, because we have provided some tools for people to be around the project, and our community forum right now is about 500 monthly contributors and more than 1,000 accounts for 10,000 messages. So we have a living community and a growing and an active community around the XCP-ng project. We have also important contribution to the project that is coming from the community and not from our own team. The most important example is Xep Center. Xep Center is EV clients for Windows that will allow you to manage your XCP-ng infrastructure. We are developing Xen Orchestra, which is a web interface, which is basically a better XCP-ng Center with a backup option and other features inside it, but this is entirely something that is maintained by the community. And this is not the only example of big contribution we have from the community. That's also the reason we have provided all the tools we can provide, documentation and guidance and dev process for people to be able to contribute if they like to. We have a lot of people downloading the solution and using it, hopefully. And we have already created a very easy process to allow people to migrate from XenServer to XCP-ng. In fact, basically, if you're using today XenServer, you just have to make a sort of an upgrade in your XenServer and you're using XCP-ng. That's as simple as that. We are not yet able to provide an easier way to move from other virtualization platform, but we're working on it already. We are also a member of the Xen predisclosure list, which is kind of recognition because it means that we are getting all the security information before it's released publicly in order for us to patch our solution before security flows will be diffused to the public. And of course, we have still no license key, no restriction, nothing. XCP-ng is as easy as possible to install. You just need to download it and to deploy it on a dedicated server, and it will work without restriction. We are also about, as I say, to join a foundation, but we will talk about it a bit later. On the technical aspect, we have also achieved a lot during 1 year, just the first year of existence, and one of the biggest achievements we have done is to correct some bugs, some issues that were existing in XenServer. And by doing so, we became the first contributor to the XenServer project, which is a sort of ironic. There was an issue with the migration of large disk up to 2 terabytes of data, if I remember correctly. And we have solved it, and our code, our solution has been integrated into the XenServer code later. Because what we are doing with XCP-ng is not an hostile fork. It's not we are not at war with XenServer. We are creating everything we are creating into XCP-ng is proposed to XenServer project, and it's up to them if they want to integrate them, the original code or not. We have also a test repository which is available and on which the community can try everything, every feature that is added into XCP-ng is available on that test repository, and that allows us to create more secure release in order to be more stable solution. We have also the driver Windows Para Virtualized, which are still a beta version, but it's something we are currently working on, and with the help of the community. We also add the cloud stack support, and one of the most important achievements we have done last year is the ZSTD compression algorithm support into XCP-ng, which is a way faster compression algorithm for the data, for the backup solution, and we have noticed we have not for about 6 times faster backup with this solution using the ZSTD compression instead of the old JZip compression inside XenServer in the first place. So that's something we are really proud of because that makes a really big difference for our users. For tomorrow, in the future, we want to have more firepower. Actually, in 2019, we are already aiming to have 6 people working full-time on the project. We already have 3 people, actually, a release manager, and 2 people, that's 2 new developers that are in the project since about 1 month. So they are not really active on the project right now, but they will be in the year to come. And in the end of 2019, we want to have 6 people dedicated on the project because we want to develop in it. We have also set up a collaboration with university because XCP-ng will do some research and development, and we have some agreements with university in France because VATES is a French company, as you may have noticed with my awesome English accent. And we will collaborate with universities in Paris, in Grenoble, where we are based, and in Nice, which are the 3. We have already agreement with this university. We are just looking for people and the subject that will be explored with these people. Finally, we are equally investigating an option with European support, European partnership, as well companies, as well as universities. There are possibilities. That is not something we will do in 2019 because we have already a full schedule this year. But in 2020, we will definitely investigate things like Eurostar's opportunity, which are joint projects that can be carried by multiple companies, associating laboratories, and research university and other companies for different things that can be just participation, just researches or providing an infrastructure to the project. But this is definitely something we will investigate in 2020. And finally, we are aiming to increase the team working on the project to about 20 people, including all the researchers, the contractors, because we have some people that are very specific, there is very specific competencies needed to develop into XCP-ng on the core of XCP-ng. That people are very rare people to find. So we will have contractors, and at the end of this year, not this year, but maybe, we don't really know right now, but we want to have a team of 20 people in between this year and the next one, working on the project full-time. So that will conclude this presentation, and thank you for the attention, even if it was after the lunch break. There is here a lot of keywords that I haven't talked about. One of the main reasons is because I'm the marketing guy, absolutely not a tech guy, so I don't understand half of them. But there are keywords very common in the virtualization world. And so I encourage you, if you have some interest into the project, into virtualization, to join us on our website. We have a community forum very active, and you will be welcome here. Thank you, people. So if you have some questions to ask now is the moment, I think.